this is part 2 of the Detroit story. So he's in a high-speed chase, and the Detroit Finest is, chasing him. The troopers are chasing him. And he slides around the corner, and this is a story Mike's telling me. He slides around the corner, he hits a parked car, and it's got 2 girls in it. So I don't recall if he said the 2 girls just got hurt real bad, or if one of them actually passed away. I don't, it's been quite some time ago, but it was something of that nature. And then he had got away, and but then they ended up finding out who he was. So then they went to his house, and this is a story Mike's telling me, and he said that Mike tried to jump out. Bert tried to jump out of the window, and they was just standing there waiting for him, So they probably had the house surrounded. And then he actually, Mike said Bert had went to court, then went to jail, and I forget how much time he spent in jail. I want to say Mike said 3 years or something like that. But anyways, Mike said as he got out of jail, he was out in the suburbs and up to no good. And he was on somebody's back porch. And I believe he was trying to get in her house or something. And Mike said, this is the story Mike heard. So Mike's heard this story, and he's telling me the story. But he said that Bert had a big screwdriver in his hand. And obviously somebody seen him trying to break in the house from the back out in the suburbs. So a state trooper comes down the alley because somebody called the police. And I don't know if Bert, charged the trooper, or if the trooper just seen him with the screwdriver. And this is just what Mike's telling me. So I don't really know if he had a screwdriver or what he had, but this is just secondhand information, because Mike actually heard the story from somebody, maybe his family member or something like that. But anyways, he's telling me that Bert's got this screwdriver, so the trooper unloaded his weapon and kills Bert. So that's just, the story that I got from Mike, and Mike got the story from somebody too, because he wasn't there, you know what I mean? So it was just a story that was circulating. But, and that's how Bert met his demise with the state police, because he was just, into all different kinds of stuff, you know what I mean? And if you're into all different kinds of stuff, you're probably going to meet your demise sooner than later, So, but that being said, Bert was a cool dude, and it's a partner of mine from Detroit City, and but he was just always into something, and that ended up sending him to jail, then ended up getting him gunned down and things like that. So people who's listening to this audio, of Detroit's darkest times. These stories that I'm telling y'all are real. So if you're out there doing crazy things and getting yourself put in jail and all that, it's shortjevity. So, if you're doing something crazy, clean your act up, because if you want to be around for your kids, for your mom and dad, for your grandparents, and all that, if you're still around, you got a chance to clean your shit up. So, I hope you take this as a lesson to be learned before it's too late for you. Now, I'm not one to preach, but I am one that if I can save your life, I will. You know what I'm saying? So, that being said, if you're doing something crazy out there, clean your act up before it's too late. But that being said, that's how Bert Hicks met his demise. You know. So, and who knows, in that situation, you don't know what was going on. You don't really know the whole story because Mike just heard it from somebody and then he told me about it. But you don't know if Bert was just deciding, well, I don't think I want to go back to prison again, so I'm just going to end it right here. And he had a quiet long run as far as being on the streets and stuff like that, but he could have had a longer run if he would have just cleaned his act up. You know what I mean? So that being said, I hope whoever's listening, if you're into some shady stuff, that maybe you'll listen to this audio and clean your act up so you can be around for your family, your kids, your grandparents, your mother and father, or whoever is important in your life so you can be around for them. But that's another brother of mine that's lost his life in Detroit City. you know. And then next, Terry Dupree. Terry Dupree was a Golden Glove boxer from the military. And he was good with his hands. And on the streets of Detroit, he ran into quite a few incidents with people trying to, either jump him or try to rob him or something like that. And it just didn't go over well with them because they didn't know what type of guy he was. And the way he was is he was a friendly type guy, but he wasn't going to take no static off nobody. So he had left a lot of people knocked out all over the city of Detroit City by them trying to either jump him or rob him or something like that and not knowing who exactly he was. But that being said, as years pass, he moves down Michigan Avenue over, in the Cecil area. Let's just put it that way. And his kids are outside with some other kids, and they get into it. And this is the story I heard from Chief. They get into it, and then they get the parents involved. So Terry goes out, and then the other kid's dad comes out, and then they have an issue on the street, and then the other kid's dad goes in the house and gets a shotgun, and then comes out and shoots Terry Dupree with a shotgun and kills him. And that's how Terry Dupree met his demise. You know, because there's no way that guy was going to, get into a fist fight with him and win. You know, so it might have been clear that he knew, about Terry living in the neighborhood for a good while. He might have knew that there was no way he's going to, fight him and win. So, but that guy didn't hesitate. He just went in, got a shotgun, killed him. But, you know, that guy probably ended his life too, you might as well say, you know. Not unless he ended up getting some kind of defense deal or something like that. I don't know nothing about all that. But that's just the story I heard, that how Terry Dupree met his demise. You know. So, that being said, and the next guy you got is Chief. I mentioned his name a few times in this audio. And he meets his demise just from old age. And he was an Indian dude that lived a long life, And then, but that's just some of many people who's lost their life, And there was this dude that I knew, and I just knew him from the streets, and he actually stayed at my apartment many times for like 2-3 days at a time, sometimes 5 days at a time, stuff like that. But this dude had knew the lady I was sharing an apartment with. He knew her, so every once in a blue moon he'd come and just hang out. He'd work on the cars if we needed him to work on the cars, or if we needed him to fix something in the apartment, he would do that. It was real handy. But and then he would like crash for 2 or 3 days, or sometimes 5 days or whatever. But anyways, later I find out that he was actually smoking crack. And then I hear that he ends up meeting his demise in Detroit City by owing the dope man $20, and just didn't pay him. And I guess he just thought he could just not pay him and get away with it. You know what I mean? And you just can't do that kind of stuff, And but anyways, the story that I heard is he owed the dope man $20 and just kept blowing him off as far as not trying to pay him. He could have paid him. This is only $20. And I guess he thought he could just, Jones him out of his money, and there won't be no repercussions behind it. But once you cheat somebody out of money, there's going to be repercussions, some which way. But anyways, I heard that they found him in the alley, and somebody had hit him in the head with a pipe, and he met his demise in the alley in Detroit City. But this guy here was just somebody I knew, and somebody. It was actually it was the lady that I shared an apartment with. It was her brother, is what it was, and so I knew of him, But she was telling me about that story, and I was like, dang, because dude was a good dude, you know what I mean, and he just had an issue with smoking crack. And but he was handy, he could work on cars, fix stuff in your apartment. He was handy, but he let $20 cause him to lose his life. And that is I hear a lot of crazy stories and I've seen a lot of crazy things, but it's just, it seemed like he would have tried to get that $20 and pay that dude his $20. Not saying that dude is the one who killed him, but that's just a story that I heard. And his sister thinks that's what the situation was, the reason he ended up dead. You know. But you just never know. And then there's this another cat that I knew, and he ended up dying in his apartment. And but I think the way he died, I think he had a heart attack or something like that. But he had passed away and stuff like that. And just a lot of people has passed, and you would think that before they pass, you that's the last thing you think they'd still be around later on down the road. You know what I mean? And just come to find out that ain't the case. So that's a few of many people that I've known, and friends of mine, brothers of mine, acquaintances, and stuff like that. It's just a few of many, and I'll get into some more of them stories later. But that's a few of many that I've lost over the years. But that being said, I just wanted to share that with my crew, and I appreciate y'all listening. So make sure you subscribe, hit the like and the notification bell. And if you want to support the channel, the cash out is $FC313, and the PayPal is DDT313. So if you'd like to support the channel, do so. And we appreciate everybody that listens, and we just have a lot to say. That being said, we're going to end this right here. But make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. You can share these audios and just grow with us on this channel. Detroit's Darkest Times, we're out.